I need money. Right on the couch.
What did I go wrong with your ass? You gonna have to take that THC test and get into a 4-year college, or I'ma just cut you off from this family.
What happens when your fame gets too big for your own career? Al Shearer found out the hard way. His story, it's crazier than any movie script he's ever been in. Born July 20th, 1975, right in the Bronx, New York, Al never chased the spotlight. The spotlight came looking for him. He once joked that he's been in this since I was hatched, born, or maybe dropped off by aliens who never came back for me. That line alone says it all. Showbiz was in his DNA, straight up. Sure, he could hoop. The man had real skills on the court, but he hated practice, calling it just whack. Acting, though, that hit different. It was like his true element came alive the second the camera rolled. When he hit Howard University, Al majored in broadcast journalism and minored in theater arts, but the school didn't even have a proper film department at the time. Just stage plays and classroom performances.
You ready to go? Go ahead, Wesley Snipes. Get it. Okay, my bad, Wesley. Back up a little bit.
Al wanted that camera energy not to be stuck under the stage lights. So, smart move. He used his journalism path as a sneaky back door into the entertainment world. He kicked things off in radio, learned how to own the mic, then jumped into broadcasting. But the whole news anchor vibe? Nah, that wasn't his lane. He had big respect for guys like Don Lemon and Lester Holt, but that calm, polished news life felt too boxed in for him. Al was pure chaos in the best way, a wildfire that refused to burn out. From radio waves to television fame, Al Shearer was on a serious rise. His first big step, becoming a correspondent for BET's Teen Summit, and once that happened, opportunity after opportunity came knocking. But the way Al got his true breakout moment, that was peak Al Shearer, bold, hilarious, and totally fearless. It was the mid-1990s, and Stephen Hill had just arrived at BET from MTV, looking for new VJ talent. Al's friend Bianca Barnes got the scoop and hit him up with the info.
I need money.
Al didn't hesitate for a second. He literally ran into Stephen Hill's office in the middle of a meeting. Hill looked up like, "What's going on?" Al said, "You looking for VJs?" Hill smirked and asked, "Are you funny?" Without missing a beat, Al said, "Hell yeah!" Hill laughed and threw down a challenge. "Put it on film. Make me laugh. Bring it back. If it's funny, we'll talk. If not, don't bother."
Apparently, Wall Street owes the Federal Reserve a big thank you, and I've got the big thank you right here.
Al took that challenge personally. He filmed something by Monday, handed it in Wednesday, and by Friday, Hill called him saying, "Have a fantastic 4th of July weekend. We're about to change your life on the other side." That one moment flipped everything. Even the show's name came out of that same conversation. They were joking around, vibing, and saying, "Hits, hits, hits from the streets." And just like that, Hits from the Streets was born, with Al getting full credit for the title. The show went crazy popular. Al hit the streets with a camera crew, asking random people about music videos and pop culture. His energy was so contagious that people shouted BET everywhere he went. He even spoofed D'Angelo's Untitled, How Does It Feel, in 1999, showing off his fearless comedy. But that fame, it was about to test him like never before.
Got a little friend of yours. Get some of that. Get some of that. Get some. That's ridiculous. What's up? What's up? What's ridiculous about it?
Because his next project, How High with Method Man and Redman, became straight up Hollywood legend. On most movie sets, they use fake stuff to keep things clean. You gut a cigar, toss in some filler, roll it tight, and boom, you've got a prop. But on How High, Redman and Method Man had their own special setup. Whenever the studio execs showed up, air fresheners came out fast. Everyone pretended it was chill, but the second those suits left, the trailer filled up like a California wildfire. Yeah, Red and Meth were the real deal. They burned the real thing in every scene. But what really blew Al's mind wasn't that, it was Redman's natural comedy style. Dude was sharp, focused, and completely professional, but the way he delivered lines had Al cracking up off camera. It was effortless. Redman's timing and energy were something you couldn't fake. It was a comedy masterclass right there on set. Even though How High turned into a cult classic, it didn't exactly make Al Shearer a household name. He had talent, presence, and comedic instincts. But his next gig would take his fame to a totally new level. By 2003, Ashton Kutcher dropped Punk'd on MTV, and he needed someone slick enough to blend into any situation, someone who could sell every prank without breaking character. That person was Al Shearer. Working with Dax Shepard, Al helped prank Hollywood's biggest names, and the show took off like a rocket. Its debut became MTV's second highest rated premiere ever, right behind The Osbournes.
This one was snacks, like you'll be at the refrigerator and you'll say, hey, do you want anything before I come back and sit down on the couch and watch this movie with you? No, I'm okay.
But fame brings problems you never see coming. While checking into a San Diego hotel for Super Bowl coverage, a woman at the counter suddenly shouted, "Oh my God, it's the guy from Bet. It's from the street." Al laughed and tried to correct her, but it was too late. His producer pulled him aside and said, "You're sitting on the bench from now on." The logic was cold but impossible to argue with. Each punk prank cost anywhere from 50 to 400 grand to pull off, and once people started recognizing Al Shearer, the game was over. If a celeb saw him walking up, they instantly knew something was off. They'd start scanning for hidden cameras and boom, the surprise was dead, money wasted, prank ruined, and the moment lost. Al had become too famous to do his own job. He was so good at it, so recognizable, that he couldn't even be used anymore. But here's what set Ashton Kutcher apart. He didn't try to hide Al behind fake disguises, hats, or wigs, no silly camouflage tricks. Ashton wanted the world to see Al Shearer and give him the recognition he deserved, even if it meant taking him off the show. That move built a real bond between them, the kind that doesn't fade when the cameras stop rolling. Years later, the two teamed up again, shooting a pilot for Comedy Central called Sheer Madness. Both Al and Ashton produced it, and Al starred front and center. According to Al, neither of them messed it up. Someone else behind the scenes just dropped the ball. Still, Al doesn't linger on it. He says that story's for another page, another time. The key takeaway? Ashton kept it real, always. And in Hollywood, that kind of loyalty is rare. If Al had an idea, Ashton actually listened. That respect meant everything. Then, in 2005, another legend came calling, Chris Rock himself. Rock was scouting for someone to eventually take over his HBO talk show, and guess who he picked? Al Shearer. Chris Rock, one of the greatest comedians ever, handpicked Al to step into his shoes. When Chris Rock called with that dream offer, Al Shearer was ready to go, but his manager, he slammed the brakes. He didn't want Al chasing what he called Will Smith's talk show path. Hosting wasn't part of the plan. He wanted Al to be a full-on movie star. So against all instincts, Al turned down Chris Rock. And even now, decades later, that decision still weighs heavy on him. He calls Chris super duper, the funniest person on the planet, and admits he's one of his biggest fans. You can feel the regret when he talks about it. Al stays humble about who he is. "I'm just a class clown, bad colonel, hatched from the wrong egg, never made it back to my home planet." He doesn't see himself as a stand-up comedian. That's not his lane. He respects the greats like Chris Rock, Chris Tucker, Eddie Murphy, Martin Lawrence, and Richard Pryor. Even Jerry Seinfeld, who sold his show for $280 million and still tours because he loves the rush. Chris Rock's got around $80 million in the bank and still hits the stage because it's in his DNA. Vince Vaughn is funny, but not a stand-up, just naturally hilarious. That's Al's vibe too. Funny for no reason, funny without trying. But turning down Chris Rock, that wasn't about knowing his lane. That was about listening to the wrong advice. Now, Al jokes that he owes Chris Rock money. He laughs saying, "I got a couple of ideas I want to talk to you about. Let's make it happen fast." But behind the laughs, there's real regret for not following his gut. By 2008, Al showed up in Glory Road alongside Josh Lucas, Derek Luke, and Jon Voight, produced by Hollywood giant Jerry Bruckheimer. Working with Bruckheimer taught him something major. Talent isn't everything. Relationships are. And even though Al kept forming real connections across Hollywood, frustration with the system was starting to build. Hollywood's got a serious repetition problem. The same actors keep popping up in the same types of roles, just recycled across movies and TV shows. It's all about that guaranteed box office. Familiar faces mean safe money to studio execs. But for someone like Al Shearer, that system made breaking through way tougher. He wasn't just competing with talent, he was going up against comfort, connections, and Hollywood's fear of taking risks. So Al decided to flip the script and create his own shot. By 2012, he'd watched too many friends go broke and saw movements like Occupy Wall Street making noise without real direction. People were fired up but not focused, and Al wanted to shake things up in a way that hit both funny and deep. That's when he dropped The Other Black Guy Running for President, a bold, comedic documentary designed to make people laugh and think. His mission? To use humor like a Jedi mind trick, sneaking real talk about politics, economics, and social awareness into people's minds. When you preach, they tune out, Al said. But if you make them laugh, by the end they realize they've been thinking the whole time. At the Iowa straw poll, Al showed up as literally the only black guy in a sea of Republican voters and pulled a wild stunt by handing out penis-shaped straws. People were shocked, confused, some even congratulated him, but beneath the chaos was a serious message. Less than 60% of voters had shown up in the last election, and 1 in 4 Americans were struggling to eat. Al wasn't just clowning, he was calling people out to care, to vote, to act, to stop just complaining online. The whole film was self-funded, no big donors, no super PACs, just Al and his small crew hustling on their own dime, keeping it stealth and making it happen. When Al Shearer dropped his documentary on iTunes, it blew up instantly. Pre-orders went wild, and by launch day, downloads hit around 350,000, climbing close to 400,000 soon after. The buzz was real. Al hit the press circuit hard, spreading his message and showing everyone just how far his creativity could go. He's been blessed to hang out with comedy royalty. Legends like Eddie Murphy, Will Smith, and Chris Tucker. He's even been to Eddie Murphy's house a few times, and jokes that he might have accidentally broken in once, though he keeps that story quiet. What struck him most was how these icons weren't just funny for the cameras, they were funny all the time. Their humor didn't switch off when the director yelled, "Cut!" It was who they were. That realization made Al understand himself better. He's built the same way. Always on, always full of energy, not because he's trying, but because that's truly him. Al later married Raisha Kha, a Sri Lankan-born model and actress who goes by Ree. Before they got together, she already had her own shine, starring in early 2000s music videos for Outkast, Cassidy, Mobb Deep, Slum Village, and Ludacris. From there, she shifted into acting, appearing in TV shows like Till Death and building her own entertainment lane. Their relationship shows Al's softer, more genuine side. On their podcast, Under the Influence, Ree asks if he ever gets mad at her. He laughs and admits, "Yeah, but it's quick and then everything's just fine." Ree smiles, saying, "That's just who you are." Comedy isn't something Al does, it's something he is. Standing tall at 6 feet 4 inches with that same high energy spark he's always had, Al keeps his personal life private, especially when it comes to family. And when it comes to real issues like #MeToo and cancel culture, he's honest, saying the world's gotten too sensitive, but makes it clear if someone crosses serious lines or harms others, they deserve to be cut off immediately. Al Shearer doesn't sugarcoat his thoughts on today's cancel culture. He believes there's a real difference between crossing the line and giving a harmless compliment. If someone says, "Those shoes are dope," or "nice outfit today," that's just being kind, he explains. But he's firm. Everyone should know when something truly goes too far. He also stresses something important. Women have been underrepresented in Hollywood for way too long, and it's finally time they shine. In front of the camera and behind it. Al's clear that predators in power have wrecked careers and broken spirits, and it took real courage to bring those dark truths into the light, but he also believes it's not just about gender. It's about equality for everyone. Minorities deserve chances too, he says. Not just black people, but Asian, Malaysian, Cape Verdean, Dominican, everybody deserves their moment. To him, that's what America's supposed to stand for, a place where everyone gets a fair shot. Beyond How High, Al built a steady career across projects like the Scary Movie franchise, BET shows, comedy specials, and cameos on major sitcoms. His secret? Just being himself. When asked about what's next, Al teased 2 top-secret projects he couldn't talk about yet, calling them building sandcastles to figure out the pyramids. Classic Al humor, full of mystery and confidence. By 2025, Al stepped back from Hollywood's non-stop grind. He's all about choosing authenticity over easy paychecks. His net worth sits around $3 million, earned through years of consistent work instead of one lucky break. Now 47 and still standing tall at 6 feet 4 inches, Al keeps that same electric presence fans love. On Instagram, it hits from the streets. His 27,000 followers see comedy clips, political takes, and real-life moments. Unfiltered, raw, and 100% him. Decades later, that hits from the streets energy still runs through Al Shearer's veins. Raw, real, and totally unfiltered. Even without major film or TV headlines right now, Al stays busy building his brand through podcasts, social media, and special appearances. He's focused on creating content his way, on platforms he controls, where he can be himself without Hollywood's filters holding him back. And no matter the interview, one name always comes up: Chris Rock. "Chris, if you see this, I'm still looking for you," he jokes. Whether that reunion ever happens or not, the fact that he keeps bringing it up says everything. It matters to him. Al might not have become the Hollywood movie star his manager once pushed for, or taken over Chris Rock's HBO spot, or turned punked into leading man fame, but what he built instead is way more powerful. He built a career on authenticity. Al stayed true to the class clown who never faked it for fame. In a world where everyone's chasing an image, where PR teams shape every move, and actors attend fancy dinners they can't stand, Al kept it real. He's the same guy who once walked up to strangers with a bed camera and made them laugh without trying. That's not a failure. That's integrity. And as Al loves to say, quick so fast, that's worth more than any Hollywood trophy. The real question isn't whether Al Shearer made it big, it's whether Hollywood was ever ready for someone who refused to play by its rules. And he's still out there building sandcastles to find the pyramids, still calling out for Chris Rock, still making people laugh just by being himself. And like, share and subscribe if you respect the real ones who never change.